Imagine that this book is a dimensional landscape. Now, assuming it has every possible page in every possible book that could ever be written inside of it, what would this actually mean? It would mean that it's a 10-dimensional world. So if hypothetically a universe was existing inside of it, it wouldn't just be one timeline. It would be every single possible path that physics could ever take in a single collection. In other words, inside this book is every single thing that could have ever possibly existed or that could ever possibly exist. Somewhere in this book, there is a universe where you didn't have to go to school. A world where you were born as a dinosaur, or even a world so vastly different to our own that no human alive could comprehend it. But you may be asking, if every universe that could possibly exist is in the 10th dimension, or in this book, how could there possibly be a higher dimension? Well, look at this book again. You may think that the entire book is part of the 10th dimension, but the truth is that only the words themselves are part of the 10th dimension. If the 10th dimension was the final dimension, the book would just have no paper. It would simply be words scattered around. But everything needs something to contain it. It needs something to hold and piece it together so that it can exist, which is the 11th dimension. The 11th dimension is the picture frame for the 10th dimension. It is a membrane that enables it to be a cohesive dimension. A simpler way to explain things is by looking at this TV. Let's imagine this blue screen as the 10th dimension, or everything that could ever possibly exist. But Praz, this doesn't make sense. You can't have this blue screen be everything because everything is infinite. But no, you're wrong. Everything is not infinite. The number of every possible universe that could ever exist is so astronomically large that we could never even come close to comprehending it, but it's still finite. You could count up every single atom in the galaxy and put that to the power of the same number, and that still wouldn't reach the number of possible universes. It's an extremely large number, but it's still a number, which is pieced together and contained by the 11th dimension. But if you're not idiotic, you're probably refuting my logic. If the 10th dimension has to be contained by the 11th, why doesn't the 11th have a container? Well, this question is flawed because you're asking it from a 3-dimensional framework. Yes, I know I described the TV as the 11th dimension, but that's just a metaphor. The 11th dimension doesn't need another dimension to contain it, because it is the underlying mathematical law that allows the concept of a container to exist. It isn't the actual TV box, it is the electricity behind the screen. It is the adhesive holding the pixels together. So, if the 10th dimension is absolutely everything, and the 11th dimension is what keeps everything together, what the hell is the 12th? Think about what we have right now. We have a TV which represents the 11th and 10th dimensions. But that TV is pointless. Why? Because no one is there to watch that TV. What purpose does a TV serve if no one is watching it? So, to explain the 12th dimension to you, I'm going to add an observer. Not a human or dog, but a camera. This blue screen currently represents every possible reality that could ever exist. But now, as I plug in the camera, you should see a trophy. By adding an observer, the camera, we took the 10th dimension, or everything, and collapsed it into one singular reality. The image of the trophy represents one specific timeline chosen out of infinite variations, just because someone is looking at it. But this represents a static universe. The trophy is just existing unaffected by the camera, and the universe is just passively existing. In order to find the 12th dimension, we need to actually change what the camera is looking at. And the only way we can do that is by pointing it at its very own output, or the TV screen. Now look at the screen. You no longer see the 10th dimension, you see infinite 10th dimensions. A screen inside screens inside screens. This is what we call infinite recursion. But you need to understand something very, very important. The camera didn't change, nor did the TV change. I didn't press any special buttons, and nothing got added or removed from the room. But something completely new formed as I pointed the camera at the screen. This tunnel wasn't previously existing in the camera, or even in the TV. It has only come into existence because of the relationship between the two of them. And that relationship itself is the 12th dimension. Now, here's where things get interesting. In advanced theoretical physics, there's the idea that the universe cannot fully exist without an observer. That the act of something being observed is what makes the universe tangible in the first place. And when I first heard that, I thought it was completely stupid because it's quite obvious that things can exist whether you look at them or not. I'm not looking at the trophy behind me, but it obviously still exists. But think about the camera and the TV again. This new infinite tunnel must have an observer to exist. The TV itself doesn't need an observer, and the camera doesn't need an observer. But that infinite tunnel does. The infinite tunnel, or the 12th dimension, is what gives the universe life. It's truly what gives the universe an infinite scale. For example, this video of me right now has a limited scale. If we zoom in far enough, eventually we will see the individual pixels. If we zoom in even further, we will always see a singular color. But on the TV, there are infinite upon infinite smaller TVs inside each TV. My camera can't zoom in far enough, but assuming my camera had infinite zoom and the TV had infinite pixels, I could theoretically zoom in forever and the image would never degrade in quality. And that is truly what makes the 12th dimension so completely different from every other dimension we have talked about. The 10th dimension is incomprehensibly enormous and large, but still finite. The 11th dimension contains that finite array, but the 12th dimension has no limit at all because it's always constantly producing more of itself. It is infinite. It is the very last dimension. So Praz, are you saying that we are the camera and the universe is a TV screen? No, we are not the observer. We live in a three-dimensional world and we are merely a tiny pixel in this infinite series of TV screens. Then, what is the observer? What is the thing that lets the universe view itself? Who is the observer, Praz? And I think about the answer to that question every night.